Today is my distinct honor to welcome back to the Hour of Power Dr. Robert Anthony Schuller, my dad. He received his Master of Divinity degree from Fuller Theological Seminary in Pasadena and was ordained in 1980 as a minister of Word and Sacrament in the Reformed Church in America. Following his ordination, he developed the Rancho Capistrano Community Church, Retreat Center, and pre-through-12 school in San Juan Capistrano. He's received 2 doctorate degrees from his extensive charity work in Mexico, the United States, and around the world. He appeared nearly every Sunday on the Hour of Power from 1976 through 2008. In 2006, he was installed as the senior pastor of the Crystal Cathedral Ministries and the Hour of Power. In 2009, he became the chairman and principal of Comstar Media, the home of family programming. Comstar managed 2 television cable networks that received 40 million households. Today, it's become U2 Technologies, the leader in interactive and social TV. He speaks internationally for the Global Peace Foundation and co-chairs the Coalition for American Renewal. And let me just say, I always grew up, hoping that I would be half the man that my father is. He's a good man and a great man, and he was a great pastor, and today we want to honor him. Would you welcome with me Robert Anthony Schuller?
Thank you.
Yeah, these people are clapping because they love you, and they appreciate all of the years of work that you devoted to this ministry, and the fruit that was born from your preaching and your leadership and your hard work. And, I just came back from a tour in Europe, and the question that was most common, more than anything, even more than how's your grandpa, is where is your dad? What happened to your dad? And
that was a common question, wasn't it? Yeah. Well,
and so this is your first time in a long time in the cathedral platform here in front of everyone. I think the last time was October of 2008, so nearly 6 years ago. What's it like being back?
How does it feel to be back? Yeah, it feels really, really good. It really is. If you've been away from your home for 5 or 6 years, if you can imagine going away someplace on a really unbelievable journey, and then all of a sudden you get to come home and visit your house, your home, that's kind of how it feels to me, because all of you are like a family to me, and I love you all very much. And it's nice to be able to come back and to be able to say hello. I know there aren't too many weeks left here in the cathedral, which is really a sad thing. And when I left the cathedral in 2008, actually I was kind of pushed out, you might say, by the powers that be. But because I was actually planning on being here till 2020 or longer. I figured 2020 I'll be about 65, something like that. And then if I wanted to, maybe I'd stay a little bit longer. Maybe there would be somebody else who was younger and more capable of taking the reins. And so that was kind of my plan. But anyhow, it didn't turn out quite that way. And
one of the things I was so surprised at, Dad, when I talked to people, because I've been doing this now for about a year, and so I'm constantly learning about the past. Like, there's just so much about this ministry that I still don't know, that every time when we sit and talk, I'm just constantly hearing new stories about the way things used to be or how we got to different decisions. One of the things that was really strange and wonderful were how many people really didn't know much about Grandpa Schuller, but they knew a lot about Robert Anthony because of all of the people that you brought in. And when you left, in your words, when you were pushed out, and it's true, there wasn't, without being too critical of others, I think a lot of people feel like we could have done a better job communicating about where you went and what happened and what was going on. What did happen and where did you go?
Well, my first concern was because of the high profile I had in the ministry and the hour of power and everything. My first concern was, here it is fall, and fall is the main income time for the hour of power. And I had gone and gotten the support. My father and I went to 50 cities across America and just garnered the support of the hour of power. So we'd have like 50 lunches and dinners with all the supporters, people who had given $250 a year or more, and I'd shake their hands, and my father would say, "Will you support my son?" And they would all stand up and give a standing ovation for the new senior pastor. Well, that was a lot of work. We spent 2 years doing that, and that was all part of the transition before I was installed as the senior pastor. And so all of a sudden, they just decided that they could have a new pastor come in, and there wouldn't be any financial impacts. and so I was really, really, really concerned for the financial future of this ministry. So as a result of that, my main concern was I didn't want to cause any harm. And I didn't want to have anything to do with anything that would put financial stress on this ministry. Yeah. Which means if I went started another church nearby, or if I had started another television service, I think that would have could have had really harmful effects for this ministry. I didn't want to do that.
And by the way, I think people recognize that. There's a real feeling that you could have acted in ways that were bitter, or you could have acted like a victim. You never. All of the phone calls and emails you got, you were just so quiet and kind and gentle about everything.
I was hurt, and I was angry, and I was a host of different emotions. And I didn't want to allow those emotions to create actions, again, that was going to harm anyone. So my prayer was actually the prayer of Jabez. And if you read the prayer of Jabez, everyone is familiar with enlarge my territory, Yeah. That's the first half of the prayer, but the second half of the prayer, I was going, there's no way God can answer that prayer. I had the biggest territory, the worldwide territory. We'd have to go out of this world to make it bigger. So I didn't even consider praying that prayer. Instead, I prayed the second half of the prayer, which is, keep me from evil. Keep me, Lord, from evil, that I may not cause harm. That was my prayer. And I prayed that every single day. I'd sit on the sofa, and there was this piece of art. I'd read the piece of art, and it has it written there 2-3 times in a row, and I'd pray it over and over and over again.
I hope this is okay for me to ask, but you and Grandpa, a lot of people are wondering what happened there. 2 pastors, 2 godly, good men, butting heads could resolve their differences. Tell me about that.
It is a work in process, and I think it'll be a constant work in process. I love my father. He's done absolutely amazing things, and he is truly a man of God, and you can applaud that, yes. No one loves and respects their father more than I do.
Except for me.
Well, not more, equally as much. And whenever we're together, we have a wonderful time, and we have fabulous experiences. But unfortunately, due to certain circumstances that are ongoing, there just isn't the amount of opportunities that I would like to have with my father. But so I could say the same thing about with you. I don't have as many opportunities with you that I'd like either. Yeah.
And so, so the family, the dynamics in our family are a work in progress, and of course a very private thing, but a lot of people are watching, and so it seems like it needs to be addressed. It's the elephant,
Yeah.
So this church, has gone through tremendous suffering. A year ago, there were about maybe 300 of us in this building. It's a lot more now, which is a really nice thing.
Yeah.
But
That's a lot due to your leadership, Bobby.
well, one of the things that, one of the questions that we're having is just about the future. We have 7 Sundays, or maybe I should probably not say it quite like that. We have just a little short time left in this place. And the future is it's so foggy. And yet we're learning that the church is people and a message, not a building. I mean, but there's still a degree of, I think, anxiety, fear. What would you say to this church as we are looking forward, as our former senior pastor, as our pastor emeritus? What would you say to us?
First of all, I believe that God is here. And here is not the building, but here is the congregation. And the church is a people, clearly. It is not a building. There will be more buildings built in the future, maybe by this congregation. Maybe you don't need to build another building in the future. Whatever, the building is to accommodate the needs of the local congregation. And whatever the needs are, God will supply your needs. The Bible is very, very distinct and faithful to that in that regard. Ask and you'll receive, seek and ye shall find, knock and the doors will be open. And God will meet your needs, regardless of what they are. And you're going to be moving to a new place with new opportunities and new struggles and new challenges. And somehow, some way, you will figure out the right way to make those things work. And if they need to be tweaked, they will be tweaked. If it doesn't work, guess what? You can move to another place that does work. I mean, it's a process in life. And the most important thing, and I think this is one of the things I've learned over the last 5 years, is just to keep moving. You just keep saying yes to something. You put one foot in front of the other, and you just keep moving, and somehow, some way, it all works together. And maybe the next building you go to is a transition space for you to go to another one. I don't think this was a transition space.
Yeah. Yeah.
This ministry started in a drive-in theater. I remember in that drive-in theater. I worshiped there. My father also built a church about 6 miles down the street on Chapman Avenue. I worshiped there. I remember both of those facilities vividly. I remember coming here and worshiping in the drive-in here when there were no buildings. It was just a piece of ground and a drive-in. That was a transitional place. We are constantly in transition. Buildings come and go. At one time in history, the most beautiful place in the entire world was the Acropolis in Greece. I don't think anyone's going there anymore except to see the ruins. Okay? We're in transition. The only thing that'll last forever is the love we have for each other and for God and God's love for us. Well, don't get me going. I'm a preacher, you know.
Yeah, I know. Speaking of which, you're going to be preaching for us in June, and we're really excited about that, to hear your sermon and hear you bless us one more time in the cathedral.
I'll be happy to.
Thank you. And before we continue, something I didn't tell you last week, I don't know if you got wind, I hope you didn't, it's supposed to be a surprise. We put together a giant card for you in the back and asked anybody here that served under you to sign the card to thank you for your years and years of service for this. Do we have the card? We wanted to just present you this card to say thank you, Robert Anthony, for all the work you did. And thank you, Bill. And we made this, can you tell?
No, I can't. It's spectacular.
And
oh,
so-
look at all these notes. I'll read every single one,
That's
I
for
promise.
you. And there were more people that wanted to sign that didn't have the opportunity. I mean, there was just a line that went forever. Just
Well,
of
let me
people
give it
that
back to you, and you can flip it over. There's room on the back.
wanted- Okay.
And then when you're done, I'll get it.
Okay. Thanks,
Yeah,
Dad.
I love it. It's terrific.
All right, we'll have that for you. And you're going to read the scripture for us this morning.
I will.
All right, thank you, sir. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Bobby, for this. I appreciate it. Appreciate you. And Jesus said, "You have heard that it was said of those of old, you shall not swear falsely, but shall perform your oaths to the Lord. But I say to you, do not swear at all, neither by heaven, for it is God's throne, nor by the earth, for it is his footstool, nor by Jerusalem, for it is the city of the great King. Nor shall you swear by your head, because you cannot make one hair white or black. Well, we can today. But let your yes be yes, and your no, no, for whatever is more than these is from the evil one." So says the word of God. And may he add his blessings to this word.